What if Deku was Viggo from How to Train Your Dragon Race to the Edge? In this what if, Deku is quirkless and has a sister Izumi, but he would have a high intellect since a young age, as because he was quirkless, his parents would always focus on Izumi more than him. He would constantly read up on books, especially what his real father had left him behind. Because Deku doesn't know anything about his real father. Izumi's father is All Might. But as known in this story, Toshinori Yagi. We go to Izuku, who is 4 years old, and is currently going to the quirk doctor with her sister. Inko had finally arrived at the quirk doctor, as they are currently waiting in the waiting room, as Izuku would be reading a book about business, because it was something that he found interesting. Although he didn't understand much of the book, he did try to understand the very little that he had read about it. A lot of it was still confusing to him, but he understood a little bit by that age. Now, they would get called into the quirk doctor's office, as the quirk doctor is waiting. As the Midoriyas would walk in. We're here to check my children's quirks. Inko Midoriya, yes. Give me a moment. As he would grab out, they would do the x-ray thing, and Izumi would have a quirk. Her quirk would be a powerful telekinesis quirk, while Izuku would be diagnosed quirkless. As they would be going home, and his mother would keep on talking about with Izumi, but not to him, as he didn't really mind it because he was trying to figure out this book that he was reading. And when they got home, Inko Midoriya went to her husband, Toshinori Yagi. So what are the children's quirks? Well, Izumi has a powerful telekinesis quirk. That's amazing. She'll be an excellent hero. What about Izuku? Unfortunately, he is quirkless. As he would think indifferent of it. Now, over the years, he would get bullied by Bakugo and Izumi and a lot of Class 1A, as they were, in this UA, share the same class. And UA is a college in this what if. In his freshman year of high school, Izuku would basically not interact with anyone of his class, as he would always be stuck in his studies. Although, because he was quirkless, the indifference of the society didn't, especially the school, didn't want him overshining his sister. So he would be pointed to have the lowest grades in the class, when in truth, he has the highest grades in the class. He would always be seen at the library looking for an interesting book, and most books he took interest in were about business, trade, and a lot of other things. Of course, he would be bullied throughout the years that came before that, by Bakugo and the rest of the class, but he would be indifferent to it, not caring. He would even stick up for himself, and they would back off somewhat. Deku is not really a pushover in this UA. He knows when to stick up for himself. But he would always be doing research. He would always notice one student from the senior class that he would find interesting. And this day, because he knew his parents weren't really going to be waiting for him at home, as they always look forward to Izumi arriving back at the house, he decided to follow him. As he would look, and he's at a port, as the student, the senior, walks in, as he's looking around, he currently sees that he goes into an old warehouse, as Izuku decides to follow him. As he opens the door, as it has an old ship, one of Viggo's hunting ships. As he would look in and see it awe, as then he would get punched in the face, as he would be sent back before he would hit the wall, as a person in a, hood would come up. Why did you follow me? Well, is that how you treat your underclassmen, Fred? As Fred would look at him. You're Izuku Midoriya from the freshmen. Why did you follow me here? I was curious of where you went to every day, because you left at the exact same time. Every day. Without fault. No one keeps a tag on me. How did you know? It was quite obvious. After all, I see you leaving at the school just before the bell rings from the window of my classroom. Every day. As Fred would just not take a fine stance that he was in anymore and just stand up before giving a hand to Izuku. What's your quirk? I'm quirkless, unfortunately, but I was interested in where you went every day. Quirkless? Oh well. Doesn't matter. I'm also curious about this ship. Oh, this ship. It was used by hunters years ago. I found it a year or two ago. Decided to fix up the ship. After all, I may go to the seas sometime in the future. I hear there are treasures out there. Also, there could be quite a few battles. As Deku gets up and puts his hands behind his back, then why don't you consider becoming a hero? You could surely have a lot of good fights by becoming one. That's true, but I doubt I'll see as much explosions as I will at sea. Seeing pirates and all that, people that like to fight in the seas usually cause a lot of havoc, if you know what I mean. A man of a fighting stature, I see. As Fred would just give him a side eye. You like fights and explosions. That's what you got out of that? Pretty much. The ship isn't complete. I say another year before it's fully seaworthy. But why did you even follow me? What's your interest? I'm just looking for something. You could do a lot of trade with this ship. I'm not trading this ship. That's not what I meant. You could trade supplies to other countries. Have your own trading route. I'm not a man of business. I'm a man that seeks adventure. Yes, but you could gain a lot of money if you do it the right way. As Fred would find an intrigue in what Deku is saying. And what would you suggest? When it's seaworthy, we gather as much supplies as we can, we take it to another country, and we start trading. Trading supplies? You got the money to buy this stuff? Why buy it when we can find it at the Dagobah beach? As this would surprise Fred, what do you mean? Dagobah beach is where people dump all of their junk. We could easily remanufacture it, sell the items to other countries, and we wouldn't have to be spending a dime. We in fact would make money instead of losing it. As Fred would smile. Didn't know you have that kind of, personality. What can I say? I'm a person with a lot of ideas. Very well. In a year, if you help me, I'll help you get your business of whatever you're gonna do off the ground. Good, 'cause I plan to leave this place in a year. As this would surprise Fred, you still have to go through the rest of the high school. Who needs high school when it's not going to do me no good? I've learned pretty much almost everything I've learned from that school already. There's nothing more that it can teach me. Once the next year is through, we could set sail. It will take some time for me to trust you. Yes, I understand that. But how about this? I help you bring supplies here, and manufacture some things for you. I'm a little bit of an inventor myself, I would say. As Fred would just lean back, just lean on a barrel. Very well. And if you help me with the ship, it may not even take a year. We are also going to need more manpower. As Fred would just look over at Izuku, that's not happening. We'll discuss that in the future then. You're a very interesting, freshman. So I'll agree to your terms so far. Especially if I could see some amazing fights and explosions in the upcoming years. Don't worry, I'm pretty sure you'll see many. After all, we'll be doing a lot of trade, and where trade comes in, there's rewards. And no other trading vessels shall interrupt our business, neither shall the heroes. All right, I agree to your terms. As Izuku shakes Fred's hand. Very well. Now I must go. I have plenty of other stuff to do before the end of the year. As Izuku would leave with this new partnership with Fred, with his very own hunter ship. As the year would go by, as he's now in his second year of high school, he had helped Fred bring a whole lot of materials from Dagobah Beach over to the hunter ship, and he would even manufacture interesting inventions there. Some being swords to be sold, some being bows, some being machinery. As Fred would do most of the heavy lifting as he was stronger than Izuku. But Izuku would still do training, as he's not as weak as everyone sees him as. He may be not as strong and doesn't have a quirk, but he is formidable, and Fred knows that. After all, every day when he would always stop by through the year, Viggo would have his own training regiment to move certain amount of items, and he would train, and Fred would notice this. Although not paying too much of mind at it, he knew Izuku was smarter than him. But he didn't mind as long as Izuku kept his word. As it's about the end of the second year of high school, as Izuku was packing his things. As then he would look at some papers before he would shove them in his bag, make sure no one saw them. As then he grabs one of his notebooks, as then Bakugo snatches it from his hands. Where do you think you're going? You need your daily beating. As Bakugo would torch the book with one of his explosions. What do you think you're doing, Bakugo? As Izuku would put his hands behind his back. Didn't last time you attacked me, I laid you flat on the ground with a right hook? As he would scoff, that doesn't matter. As several other people from Class 1A would be behind him. Teaming up on a quirkless person. No sense of dignity, I see. As Bakugo would throw an explosion, as it would be redeflected by Izuku with a left hook, before he would kick him in the stomach, before he would get hit by Todoroki, sending him to the side of the class, back of the class. As he would get up, as then Todoroki would freeze him. If it isn't the son of Endeavor, didn't think you would be helping Bakugo. You're turning out just like your father. As he would say this, Todoroki would get angry, but Bakugo would run forth and then punch Izuku in the face, sending him back to the wall, further into the wall. As he would get up once again and just stretching his back. You call that a punch? As Izuku throws a punch and it sends Bakugo into some desks. That's a punch. As then Todoroki and the rest of the class would try to attack Deku. And of course, with them using their quirks, had the upper hand. To where now two of Kirishima and Todoroki are holding Izuku. As then Bakugo would charge up an explosion before throwing it into his face, as Izumi would only just sit there and watch, with a little bit of a smile on her face, thinking Izuku needs to be taught a lesson. As Bakugo would throw a large explosion at his face, as Izuku would cover his face as it was burned, as he would be on the ground. Now that's what you get. As they would then leave, as Izuku would be holding his face, as he would leave the class, as his face was injured, as he would make his way towards the, warehouse where Fred was. As he would come in while he was still holding his face, as Fred would walk over, What is it? Did you at least bring the papers I asked you to bring? As then Izuku would kind of fall to the ground, as Fred would go over and notice the burns on his face. Oh, that's not good. As he would bring Izuku to the ship and look for the ointment of medicines they had put on the ship. As then he would put it on Izuku's face. Unfortunately, after this, it would leave a scar of fire left on his face. The same scar he had in How to Train Your Dragon's Edge. You still going back to school for the last few days? No. We're leaving today. If they keep doing this to me at this rate, I'll be dead before the next school year. You really think they'll go that far? After all, they'll get, expelled from any chance of going to a hero school. Not a chance. All Might will have them make sure they get in. What do you mean? Izumi Midoriya, the daughter of All Might Toshinori Yagi. As Fred would be taken aback, what? Then aren't you his son as well? No, I'm the son of Grimborn. As then Fred would recognize that name. The trading company that went missing a few years ago was run by a Grimborn. But the last member of the family vanished, laying to the company to its destruction. Or, well, what it seemed to be. That's what it seems. But unfortunately, my mother didn't hide all of the truth. And I found out who my real father was. I also found out who All Might was, as he was returning home when I was arriving late, in his buff form, so Izuku saw All Might when he had returned home. As we get up, as Izuku is partially blind in his right eye. So what do we do now? We need to find some people, and then we can start this journey. Oh, great. You know, it's not going to be easy finding people that are going to want to join us. They don't have to be of any background. As in, Fred, you plan to hire criminals? They would be the easiest and cheapest option. Especially if they must not be well-known villains. Then we can have them aboard, and since we'll be a legal company, or at least in the eyes of the heroes, they shouldn't interfere. It will still take a few years before we're off the ground. I understand that. But we can't sell the ship just you and I. As Izuku would be sitting on a chair. Very well. So, Izuku, when does this start? As Izuku raises his hand, don't call me by that name ever again. I will be going by Viggo now. Viggo Grimborn. Very well. But where do you suggest we find these people? As Izuku pulls out pieces of paper, as well as the paper that Fred asked him to bring. Here. As he point out one document that has a little bit of a map. Serious, the forest? There's a little bit of a group area where a lot of villains are looking for jobs. We could use them. Especially if we're going to be a hunting group. Hunting. Yes, we'll be trading hunting. As I also heard these. As he pulls out some old raggy documents from his father's study that he had managed to grab, as Inko was also hiding these. They're old texts of creatures that used to be around, even before the Quark era. If we can find them, guarantee they'll sell on the black market for a high price. Or we could even use them to our benefit. As Fred would take a look at these, this could work. Only one problem. We're going to need to sell a lot of this stuff we have on board. You've made a lot of it after the year. And the ship is now seaworthy. Yes. But let us go get those villains to work for us first. As Izuku gets up. Yes. I trust you to make sure no one follows me. Oh, trust me, I'll have it covered. As Fred just smiles. After all, you promised a fight for me? And is there going to be a fight here? Possibly. As Viggo would leave with Fred following behind. And that is the end of What If Deku Was Viggo, Part 1, The Scar.